Hello, and welcome to another Velcro City Records tutorial. I'm your host, Daniel, and in this tutorial we are going to be focusing on two different methods of sidechain compression inside of Logic 10. Here is a short piece I wrote for the purpose of this tutorial. Let's give it a little listen, and then we'll dive into seeing how I use sidechain within this track. As you can hear, a few different elements are being sidechained within the track. Those are the synths, the bass, and one effect. At the bottom of the arrange window, you can see two bus tracks. These are the two different methods of sidechaining we are going to look at today. The first is an insert plugin called Volume Shaper 3. By a company called Cable Guys. This plugin works in a very similar way to that of automation. Instead of compressing the audio source to enable a ducking effect, this plugin simply applies an LFO to the volume of the track. On the right hand side you can see that I can choose the rate of which the LFO runs at. Here you can see I've selected a half note, as I felt that a quarter note was a little too fast for this track. Now let's take a little look into the routing of this track. As you can see, I placed the plugin on bus 4, and I'm sending the instruments to this bus. You can do this by going into the mixer window. Selecting the tracks that you want to send to the bus, and then click in the output section and select bus 4. Another thing I'm doing is automating the effect of this plugin so that it only affects the drop or chorus portion of my track. You can do this by selecting bus 4, then choosing write mode. Once in write mode, we can then click on the bypass knob of the plugin. Once we've done that, we can switch back into read mode, press A on our keyboard, and as you can see, the automation information has now been added to the track. Now we can make sure the plugin is only activated once the drop comes in. This technique is useful as it allows for a greater impact within the drop section. The next method of sidechaining we are going to look at is the more traditional sidechain compression. Instead of automating the volume of a track, sidechain compression works by assigning a source to the compressor. This way you can trigger the compression with a desired source rather than an LFO, which works by selecting a regular pulse or rate. In short, the difference between the two is compression works by compressing the signal, i.e. reducing the dynamic range of the sound, rather than just automating the volume. The first thing we are going to do is duplicate the kick drum track, as we are going to use this as our trigger. You can do that by pressing Command and D on your keyboard. Now all we need to do is copy the kick drum part over to our new track. Now we can open up our compressor. Notice in the right hand side of the plugin we can see an option for sidechain. Go into the menu and select the audio source that you want to sidechain. In this case, I'm selecting the channel we just created. Now our sidechain will be linked to our kick drum. Once that is done, we need to make sure that we can no longer hear the sidechain kick channel, as we already have an existing kick channel. In order to do this, we will need to go to the kick drum channel and select No Output. Now all we hear is the kick drum channel, and not the additional sidechain kick channel. Looking at the compressor settings, we can tweak a few things in order to get a better sound. First, turn the attack all the way to 0. This will make sure that the compressor is working straight away. Next, turn the ratio up to about 4 or 4.5, depending on your preference. Next, we turn the threshold to about -20 dB. Again, it's completely up to you if you want to change this setting. Pulling back the threshold will result in a larger compression value, and turning it the opposite away will result in a less compressed sound. By looking at the VU meter, we can see that every time the kick is playing, our bass track ducks. This is great, as now our kick drum becomes more audible and doesn't interfere with the bass frequencies. Let's take a moment and see how that sounds. As you can hear, the kick drum was audible throughout the track. Unlike the volume shaper, which works by using an LFO, our bass was directly triggered by the kick drum. And there you have it. Those are two really quick and easy ways to use sidechain within Logic 10. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe for more VCR tutorials.